What if the version of you living her dream life is so much closer than you think, and she's actually just waiting for you to step into her shoes? Oh, that's a big question. Welcome back to Alive and Thriving. Today, we are diving into something that I actually was asked to speak about last night. I was pouring into a group of soul led entrepreneurs. And one of the questions that was posed to me was, how do you collapse the timeline between where you are now and where you desire to be? And this came up in conversation around the fact that we were talking about like the reality of timelines in business and the reality of the fact that it does take time and can take time for most people to build their businesses, to build the systems, to learn the strategy, to nail the messaging. But when it comes to how to collapse the timeline, that is what we are going to talk about today. Because there is something that you can start working on right now, something that you have full control over that is going to help this process. So if you have ever felt stuck or you've wondered, why success feels like it is taking so long for you, then I promise this episode is for you. We are going to explore how your decisions, how your energy, and how your mindset play a massive role in speeding up your journey. So, as we begin, I have some questions for you to just really reflect on where you are currently at the moment. And the first one is, are you making decisions from the place that you are at now? Or are you making decisions from the place of where you want to be? And there's a lot that comes up around that. And there was a lot of conversation around that last night too. Like, how do I make decisions as if I was already in that place where I want to be if the money physically isn't in my bank account, for example? And so I'm going to talk about those types of things today as well, because I have an answer. I have a solution for you. Another question for you is, what if the only thing that was standing between you and your dream reality is the way that you're showing up today? What if that is literally the only thing that is standing in between it? I want you to notice the stories that come in your mind when I say that. Yeah, but Jess, my audience. Yeah, but Jess, this. Yeah, but Jess, that. Yeah, but I've done this work. Okay, if you've done all of the work, then congratulations to you. You must be absolutely thriving. If you are not seeing the reality, then I'm sure you've done enough work to get you to where you are now. But at every new level, every single new level will come a shedding, a release, an unbecoming. So imagine waking up tomorrow as the woman that you aspire to be. What would be different if you were doing that? And I might pop those three questions actually into the show notes so you can go back and journal on those if you want to, because they are really powerful questions. What would be different tomorrow if you woke up as the woman that you aspire to be? Because here is what we hear so often: I want this reality. I want this business. I want to live in this place. I want to earn this money. I want this experience. But are you ever actually sitting there and going, okay, when you're imagining those things and you're in that daydream or you're in that visualization, are you ever actually looking at this and going, okay, what would be different though if I was that woman? Because you're not only creating a new experience, you are doing it as a different version of yourself. So, before we talk about collapsing timelines, let's start with a little bit about what they actually are, just in case that is a complete new term to you. In the content field, time is not linear. Every single possibility for your future already exists as potential reality. And that version of you who is thriving, who is confident, who is magnetic, who is successful, she is out there right now. She is existing in the quantum. And I know that she is there for you because you believe that it can happen. You cannot connect to something that is not possible for you. So the thing that is separating you from her is the current energy, beliefs, and actions that you are currently embodying. So the good news about this is that you can bridge that gap, right? You can align your energy with her energy. So I want you to think about the quantum field a bit like a radio. If you want to hear a specific station, you need to tune into its frequency. And the same goes for your success. You have to be energetically matched to the version of you that already exists in your desired reality. So let's talk more about how we actually now collapse that timeline. Collapsing the timeline is about embodying the energy and taking the actions of your future self right now. So let's break this down. First of all, you want to make decisions like your future self. Most people make decisions based on where they are currently at, based on their current circumstances and their current way of thinking. But to collapse the timeline, you need to ask yourself, what would my future self do? And maybe you've asked that question before. Maybe you've done a future self meditation, like, oh, that's nice. But the thing is that this is so fundamental. This is why we literally continue to come back to future self check ins and future self meditations every single week in our alignment check in the mastermind. We come back to this all the time in our goal setting. And the reason for that is because, first of all, that future self is going to grow and evolve as you do. She is going to continue to evolve as you continue to step towards her. But the thing is that as you become that woman, and it was one of my mastermind ladies actually, when she chose to renew again for another year, she said to me, when I reflected on what I shared with you back at the beginning of 12 months ago, she said, I am the person that I wanted to be. Oh my gosh, that is amazing. It is really important to be clear on your future self. What would she be investing within herself, within her business? Would she have clearer boundaries? Would she be making these decisions from fear or from confidence? Because when you are making your decisions continually from your current emotional state and your current circumstances, then you are going to continue to get more of the same thing. That is just fact. Now, an objection that comes up here, and we talked about this last night with this group of entrepreneurs that I was with, was what happens if you literally, like, how do you make a decision, say, about investing, for example, if you literally don't have the money in your bank account? So here is how you would do this differently. Maybe it's not that you can actually go and spend that money in that moment, but maybe then the question becomes, current self would go, oh, I don't have the money, boo hoo, can't do this. Future self would be going, okay, I don't have the money in my bank right now, but how can I get it? So this is not about you acting like a millionaire and recklessly spending and doing things that put yourself out of your current circumstances. This is about the energy and belief and way of thinking that you bring into something. If you are going to bring in, again, I'll use that same example, coming in and going, oh, I can't invest in this because there's no money in my bank. What would future me do? Who cares? The money's not there, right? No. Future you would be saying, or would future you be saying, how can I do this? What could I sell in my business? Do you need to go back to your job? And if that's the case and you don't want to go back to your job, is future you doing that, or is future you making decisions like, okay, what offer could I put? What need could I solve to put an offer in front of an audience, of my audience, to make that same money? She would be thinking differently. Now, I heard a story the other week and I loved it so much. I'm going to share it with you. It was Regan Hillier. And if you follow her, you've probably heard this story of hers. But she was talking about, and forgive me if I get it a little bit wrong, but she was talking about she had maybe $52 or something in her bank account. This was before she was a millionaire. And she was talking about the fact that she's at the grocery store and she's shopping with her $52 budget. And she came across blueberries, and blueberries were about $8 a punnet or something, like expensive in the concept of $52. And she went to put them back. And then she asked herself, what would that future me do? What would millionaire Regan do? And she's like, buy the blueberries. And she bought the blueberries. And there is so much energy behind that. There is so much energy. Again, she wasn't actually a millionaire in that time, but that decision around abundance, that decision around choosing joy, her favorite food of all time. And you get to think like that too. What would your future self do? And what habits would she be bringing into her day-to-day life? What success habits does she have? What work patterns does she have? How does she interact with clients? Like, how is she doing things differently? So now I have a practical step for you. I want you to write down a big decision or even a small decision right now that you are facing, maybe in life, maybe in business. And then I want you to imagine the version of you who is already has that thing, that success, that item, that experience, whatever it is. And what choice would she make today? Not what choice would you make from your current circumstances and your current resources. And again, if the physical resources aren't there, then how would she be thinking differently? What choice would she make today? And I want you to take one small step in that direction today. Okay, this is how we collapse timelines. We take the step to become the woman who already has it. So then we move on to energetic alignment, and you hear me say this all the time. I know I'm a broken record. If you listened to last week's episode, I said the same thing. Your energy is your biggest asset. So are you spending most of your time in scarcity and doubt and overwhelm? And if so, it is time to shift into abundance, into clarity, and into trust. And I know it's not that easy. It is a conscious practice. It is something that will take continual practice to come into that space. But just like making those decisions from your future you, if you do not start, even with the smallest practices, if you do not start to interrupt those patterns and thoughts of scarcity and doubt and overwhelm, then you are going to stay there. Okay. Now it's not about perfection. We don't just go right from scarcity, doubt, and overwhelm straight into abundance and clarity and trust. I know that it is not this like quick magical journey, but every time you think differently, every single time you make a decision in abundance rather than scarcity, or you make a decision from abundance rather than doubt, or from trust rather than overwhelm. Celebrate it. Acknowledge it. Do a quick like somatic check-in. Like literally pat your body down. Like, okay, look, I've done this. I've done this thing and I'm here. And I can feel myself breathing and I'm here. Do a quick somatic check-in when you need to, when you've done these things, and really celebrate it. I did that thing, I thought differently, and now look at me, I survived. And you can use tools like tapping. You know I love tapping to help with this alignment. If you're noticing that scarcity, or doubt, or the emotion, the overwhelm, the stress, particularly if it's causing physical sensations in your body, you can use tools like EFT to help to release that and move it through. Meditation practices, other somatic practices to really ground yourself, journaling practices, things that are just really going to help you to raise your frequency. Maybe you do that through your breath. Maybe you do that through music. I want you to find what works for you, whatever tools you are going to find that you will happily continue to use, but you need to find something, because this is how we move from those places of scarcity and doubt and overwhelm. We move through these intentional practices. And sometimes just going, I'm going to choose to think differently, sometimes that's not enough, because we are so ingrained in the same patterns of thought and behavior with emotional reaction that is so predictable for our body, that these ways of thinking in scarcity and doubt and stress and overwhelm, even though they don't feel good, they are actually your recognized normal. So stepping into abundance, stepping into clarity, stepping into trust might feel really difficult for your nervous system because it feels really unfamiliar. So those kinds of practices are going to really help to calm you, to ground you, and to reinforce the positive changes that you are trying to make. And even if there's resistance, even if you feel like you don't remember what trust has been like, tapping, even though I don't remember what it's like to feel that trust, I accept that this is how I feel. And what is trust? How does that feel? What do I do? Like, how do I start this? Just using these tools to lower that resistance as well. So something that you can do on the energetic alignment space is you can spend 5 minutes every day, just maybe as you drift off to sleep, or maybe when you wake up in the morning, when you're doing a morning practice, to visualize your future self. And I recommend writing it down and then reading it silently, reading it out loud, closing your eyes and visualizing it. And then potentially when you're reading it out loud as well, recording that reading to yourself. And then the last step would be listening. So writing down how she feels, how she moves, how she makes decisions, and allow those feelings to flood through your body. And again, write it down, read it silently, read it out loud, and record your voice saying it. Listen to it, close your eyes, visualize it. Get it on all these different levels, and that is going to have such an amazing impact on you feeling like you are already becoming her. Because every step that you take towards her is becoming her. Please don't think of her as an end destination that you get to and then you're done. It doesn't work like that. She is going to continue and evolve. So every single step you take towards her is becoming her. You are already doing that if you are taking action. And speaking of taking action, this is the third piece that I want to share with you today around collapsing that timeline. Because collapsing the timeline doesn't mean sitting back and just waiting for things to magically happen for you. There is intentional, aligned action to be taken. And here's the thing. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, it shouldn't be perfect. You've got lessons to learn along the way. You've got mistakes to be made. Just because you are collapsing a timeline does not mean that you're going to do it absolutely perfectly. The actions that you take today do not need to be massive, but they do just move you closer to your vision. So when you think about what your vision is, and we come back to what is that one thing? What would my future self do? And what would she be doing today? What is that one thing that she would be doing to move me closer to that vision? Do that thing. That is aligned action. And the more you practice embodying trust, the more you practice tuning into whether it be your human design internal guidance, your sacral response or your splenic response or whatever it is that you have as your guide, whether it be your intuition, however you take your body's guidance. For me, that has been one of the biggest things about learning to come back into trust. Coming back into trust and taking action in the space of trust has been me learning how to listen to my body and knowing that even if I get it wrong, there is a reason I've gotten it wrong, because there is a lesson there for me to learn from that. And that is so perfectly okay. So take aligned action, take that imperfect step, trust that is the right step if you feel it within your body's internal navigation system, and just do it. And that is how we collapse these timelines. So I have a practical step here as well in terms of action. I want you to identify one area of your life or your business where you have been playing it small. And I want you to identify one bold, aligned action that you can take today to start to shift that. Okay, you're going to take action. It is time if you want it to be time. Even if you're a little bit scared, it's fine. One of the biggest misconceptions is that it takes years of hustle and grind to be successful. I have seen clients quantum leap in their business and their lives simply by stepping into that energy of their future self, taking aligned action. I have seen mentors quantum leap dramatically, and it is so amazing to watch. I have literally woken up and these things are happening around me and I'm like, holy moly, I manifested this. And there are some parts of me that hadn't quite caught up with that. That was interesting. This isn't magic though, it is alignment. And the alignment, it can move mountains. It can move mountains faster than strategy alone ever will. This alignment is your key to collapsing your timelines. So the version of you who already holds that success that you are dreaming of, she is not that far away. You just have to choose to start to be her. And I don't know when we collapse this timeline, by the way, if that's going to mean that it comes to you within a week, a month, a year, 5 years, 10 years, because I don't know what the timeline would have been. But all I know is that when you start to become that, you are going to receive what that next level version of you is ready for. She is already there. She is already within your reach. The only question is, are you willing to become her today? And if this episode resonates and you are willing to become her, then I want to help you start 2025 in the most embodied and aligned version of yourself that you could possibly be. So I invite you to explore one of my 3 mentorship offerings. I have the Transcendence Mastermind, which is our beautiful container for coaches, healers, and service providers who are wanting to grow their business to consistent 5-figure months in a way that is scalable, in a way that is sustainable, that prioritizes your nervous system as you grow your strengths-led business. I have the Embodied Entrepreneur, which is my 12-month identity upgrade to help you really cultivate that internal dialogue that you need to hold those levels of success. We also get Embodied Entrepreneur in the mastermind. And then, of course, I have my private mentoring, which is extremely high touch and combines all of the healing, all of the growth, all of that next level expansion, as well as the business strategy if you choose to bring the strategy into it. So if you would like to chat about which of these offers, because the mastermind is limited, my private spaces are extremely limited, and Embodied Entrepreneur is a very supportive program that you can jump into straight away. But if you would like to see which of these will guide you to your next level, then feel free to drop me an email or pop over to Instagram and say hi. And let's just have a chat about where you're at and what your goals are for yourself and for your business, and how we can help you to collapse your timeline to get there even faster as the embodied woman who holds that success. So I really look forward to hearing from you. I know that this lands with the woman who it is ready to land with. And I would also love you to pop over to Instagram and to let me know, out of these action tasks that I have given you today, which has really resonated. What is it that you are going to go and do? And if you would like to share any downloads with me, then please do. I am all ears. I absolutely love hearing from you guys. I am so grateful to have had or to have been in your ears again this week. And I really look forward to being back here next week with you all on Alive and Thriving.